everyone, welcome back to the Lemon Abroad. Today I wanted to make another video in my Moving to Italy series, and today's topic is that of residenza or residency. So residenza is going to be important if you are thinking about moving to Italy on a permanent basis. That means your primary residence would be in Italy. It's basically the process of registering yourself with the local population registry in your municipality, and this is known as the Ufficio Anagrafe. Like I said, this will be very important if you are moving to Italy because it's how the municipality and the country will know that you are there. And then you will be able to access city and national services such as getting an ID card, getting registered with the national health system, and with voting. Now, if you're coming to Italy for a few months, for example, to study abroad, but you are not intending to actually move here, then this wouldn't apply to you. You wouldn't need to worry about residenza because you're still a resident of your home country where you're going to be returning to when your stay in Italy is over. But if you are planning on settling in Italy, it will be necessary for you to become a resident and to obtain your residenza. Now, residenza is not just for Italian citizens, but it is for anyone who is living in the city on a permanent basis. In fact, if you are coming from abroad and you intend to stay in Italy for a long time, one of the ways that you can eventually obtain Italian citizenship is by having been a registered resident of Italy for 10 years. So it's very important that you begin this process once you move here so that you can begin accumulating your consecutive years lived in Italy. But you have to be officially registered to count them. So while in theory the residenza process should be pretty standard, I will say that it seems to vary by municipality. There could be different procedures, different documents requested, things like that. For example, if you live in a larger city where there are many people who either need to declare that they have moved into the municipality or that they are simply changing their address, it could be that there are thousands of people making these requests and there are only 10 or 20 people in the office who are trying to process them. So it could end up taking much longer than if you were living in a smaller municipality where there are not as many people making these requests and therefore the staff is better able to manage them. Generally speaking, the rule is to declare your new address with the Ufficio Anagrafe within 20 days of moving into your new home that you will now be using as your residence. Now, the first time that you have moved to an Italian municipality, it will be best to just go to the Ufficio Anagrafe and ask them directly how you can make an appointment, what documents you need to bring, etc. Now, there exists an online system for changing your address. However, in order to have access to the system, you already need to have the Italian digital identity. So if you are just moving to Italy for the first time, you will need to go to the office in person or contact them by phone or email in order to understand how to make the application. However, I would highly recommend going there in person first and trying to speak with someone directly. After you have brought your documents to the Ufficio Anagrafe, they should give you some type of paper that will tell you that we've received your application. However, this does not mean that the process is over. Basically, you have given all of your documents to someone who works in the office, and they will then take your documents and give them to someone else in the office who will process them and review them. Once your documents have been processed, a police officer will be sent to your house to make sure that you live there. Now, they don't come in or anything, but they just ring your doorbell and make sure that you are there. They'll ask you to bring your ID outside and have you sign a piece of paper saying that you were there and that is your home. Afterwards, the police officer will then attach that to your file, and it will take a little bit more time for your application to be completely processed. In my experience, I never received any kind of confirmation that everything had been finalized, but you will find out if it has been processed because you will then make an appointment to receive your identity card, your carta d'identità. It may be, as it happened to me, that you make the appointment and you go and your residenza has not been finalized in the system. So in my case, they told me to just make an appointment for a few weeks later, and I came back, and by that time it had been finalized and I was able to apply for my ID card. In theory, the process of obtaining your residenza should take 45 days from when you present your application until it is finalized. However, as I mentioned before, the processing time can greatly vary depending on how heavily burdened the local municipality is with these applications. As you can see by the process I've explained, it is not just signing off on a form. There are many different people involved and different controls that have to be done, and especially in larger cities that will have thousands of people making these requests, it can be a heavy burden on the municipality staff. I would be patient with your application. Of course, you are always within your right to try and contact someone from the office to check and see what is going on, what is the status of your application. But in my experience, sometimes these things can just take time. Residenza, in theory, should just be declaring that this is your new address and that this is where you live, but I would think of it more as obtaining a status. It's a status that, as I said, grants you access to the city services and also an acknowledgement that you live there, but you will also be asked to make sure that you have your house in order, right? So you will need to have a housing contract that is registered with the Agenzia Entrate. That way they can verify if the house is up to code, if it's zoned correctly, things like that. If your landlord is properly registering the house and paying taxes on it. If you are an Italian citizen coming from abroad or coming from another municipality, they will make sure that all of your information gets transferred over to this new city where you're living. If you are coming from abroad, then they will make sure that you have the proper visa. So it is something that can take some time, but once you have it processed, then it's fine until you are ready to move again. One thing to mention is that you'll hear the word residenza and domicilio. Residenza is your permanent address. You can think about this as the place where you always live and where someone can always find you. For example, let's say that you live with your family in Napoli, but you will take a course in Rome. So you rent a room in Rome. In that case, your residence is always in Napoli, but you will have a domicilio or a temporary address in Rome. In this case, you wouldn't need to change your residenza or anything like that. However, there is another circumstance where domicilio can take on a different meaning. This is if you are moving to a new address within the municipality where you are already registered as a resident. In this case, the municipality tends to use the word domicilio, for example, cambio domicilio or cambio abitazione, which simply means to change your address, to state that you are always a resident of Venice. You are already registered in one home. Now you are moving to another home, so you will change your address, you will change your domicilio. These offices tend to use cambio residenza only for when you are declaring your first residence in Italy or when you have moved from one municipality to another. So those are just the two different circumstances in which you might find residenza, domicilio, abitazione, for example. I hope that this video has been useful for you. It is a very general, very basic overview. As I said, it really can change from municipality to municipality. So your best bet is to check with the local ufficio anagrafe, check their procedure, check what documents they are requesting, try to speak with someone in person if you can, so that you can get the most up-to-date information and to know what you have to do to declare your first residenza in Italy. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you next time. Ciao!